Welcome to the series where I'm going to talk about all things dog food. And to start in this video, I'm going to talk about the different types or categories and what they really are, what they mean, so that you can make a better choice for your pet. And if you stay tuned until the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite chews for my dogs. The most widely known common food category for pets is kibble. Interestingly, kibble is relatively new. It's only about 100 years old and was invented because of the rising meat prices. It really became popular because of the lower cost price point, ease of distribution, convenience factor of it, and the shelf life. The way that kibble is generally made is through a process called extrusion. This is where the manufacturer is going to take the raw material or the ingredients, mix it together, and push it through a die, which is going to help shape it. And through this process, they're going to essentially cook it at really high temperatures. And then from there, they're sprayed with a mixture of synthetic vitamins, flavorings, fats, dyes, bagged up in a bag, sealed really quickly to prevent the fat that was just sprayed on from oxidation, and then they're on the grocery store or pet store shelf that you purchase from. Probably the second most popular pet food you see is canned pet food, and this is where the manufacturer takes a mixture of ingredients, the animal meat, produce or plant matter, synthetics, and they process it into a pre-cooked loaf or stew, and then they pack it into a sanitized container. Now, one of the fastest growing categories in pet food is freeze-dried, mostly because of how convenient it is. And it is simply taking the food or treats and removing the moisture from it using a freeze dryer. It's actually really fascinating how they do this. So at high level, what they do is they'll take the food already complete and balanced as is with all the ingredients, and then they freeze it. They place the food in a vacuum chamber, and then they'll use a combination of very low cold temperatures and pressure to then convert the ice or the frozen water into a water vapor. This is called sublimation. The vapor condenses into a coil, and this effectively removes most of the moisture from the food without dramatically impacting or changing the structure. This makes the food really lightweight, and then you can just rehydrate it with water when you feed it to your pet, makes the shelf life of it last years. Then you have the category of air-dried or dehydrated foods, and there's typically a lot of confusion between the difference of a freeze-dried food compared to the dehydrated food or air-dried food. And the biggest difference between those two categories is going to be the use of heat. Air-dried dog food is, in my opinion, a middle ground between freeze-dried and dehydrated food. And air-dried is essentially drying the food by using a continuous circulation of air to, again, remove that moisture so that it can be in a shelf-stable bag without majorly altering the structure and the nutritional integrity of the food like it does more in a kibble. Then you jump into the raw category. Raw meaning it is a mixture of raw meat, raw organ, raw crushed bone, sometimes produce, sometimes some synthetics, all packed into a patty or little niblet form or even a chub. And these are not processed at all, meaning they're in their completely raw state. You typically find these at the freezer or in the freezer section at your local independent pet store. Some brands do ship frozen product, and there are different categories and classifications within raw, but generally speaking, a raw food is one where you purchase it completely frozen, like you're getting a pack of hamburger meat from your grocery store, but it is going to be typically complete and balanced for your dog. You defrost it in your fridge, and then you feed it as is with no cooking, no air, no freeze drying added to it. Within the raw category, you can also have gently cooked foods, which is the same thing as the raw category, but some brands will gently cook or sous vide the food. And to make things more confusing, within each category, there are slight variances with how the brand manufactures, sources, produces the food, which can greatly impact the quality of it. And so this is why I've become an incredibly picky pet parent when it comes to the food, treats, and chews that I give my dogs. Now, before I jump more into what I feed my dogs and my preferred kibble, freeze-dried, dehydrated, air-dried foods, etc., which will all be linked down below, and again, we'll talk more about the end, I do want to talk about one of my favorite chews, because when we're talking about dog food, it's really hard not to think about what chews and treats we want to give our dogs. And generally speaking with chews, I'm very picky as well, because what our dog is consuming can greatly impact their overall health and well-being. And if you're not familiar with yak chews, one of my favorite brands is going to be Native Pet yak chews. This is kind of what the packaging looks like, where the only simple ingredients are yak's milk, cow's milk, lime juice, and sea salt. And why I love these so much, and these are linked down below, there are special links, and big shout out to Native Pet for sponsoring this part of the video. I have been purchasing this brand with my own money for the longest time and supporting them because they are an evidently obvious pet first, not just profit first company started by two best friends that are dog focused. They also only source from grass-fed, responsibly raised animals, which unfortunately is not super common to find. Chews and treats have been like this, especially because pet parents love them, have become so popular in the pet food category that brands are supporting poor farming practices just to make a quick buck. They're very low odor, 100% digestible, and you also know that I'm very passionate about dental health. Did you know that by the age of 2, majority of dogs suffer from dental disease? And this is really critical because poor dental health has a direct connection to heart disease and poor heart health. So to make sure my dogs avoid dental disease, I brush their teeth regularly. I have them go for regular vet checkups. I feed them a healthy, lower carb diet, which I'll talk about their dog food in a moment. And I give them, supervised of course, dental health promoting chews because it's made with natural ingredients and it's not processed or treated with any chemical treatment. Again, that's hard to find. I don't worry as much about blockage, choking hazards, or chipped teeth. Of course, with any chew, toy, or treat, there are risks that come with it. Always supervise and choose a chew that's best for your dog and their chewing style. But with these, they break down as my dogs chew on them with their saliva. It'll start to break down a little bit. So that means I don't worry as much about them chipping a tooth. I also like to use a holder on it so that when it gets to the very last piece of it, my dog can't swallow this to avoid any choking hazards. And then you can take that little nib that's at the end, you can microwave it for 20 to 40 seconds, let it cool completely, and then it's like a puffed up Cheeto treat for your dog. And a lot of dogs really, really love that. So it's like a never ending chew toy for your dog. And because it doesn't have artificial chemicals and synthetic ingredients in here, if my dog was to swallow a piece of this, I don't worry about it getting stuck in their system because my dogs digest it really well. And to make sure you don't miss any updates to this series all about dog food, which then I will be going to a series about dog treats and chews, then dog toys, make sure you click that subscribe button and you have to turn on the notification bell, otherwise you won't be notified. Now, if you want to learn more about each category of dog food and what category is the best based on what I would feed my dogs, you can click the video right here. And if you want to learn more about some of my favorite treats and chews, you can click the video right here, and everything is linked below. I hope you have a beautiful day. Goodbye.